Okay, first of all, compliments to all of you people. You're the hardcore set that are still here, right, post 4 o'clock, so congratulations on that. What I'm here to talk about today is so many of us are in kind of these early stage growth organizations. And that journey from startup to hopefully an IPO or successful M&A or some sort of successful exit strategy like that is a really interesting journey to go on, right? But there's also a key element as part of that journey that everybody should consider, and that is the role of leadership, okay? So when I think about companies like Zuora and the journey that we've been on internally, so I joined, they're like a Silicon Valley headquartered organization. We offer a subscription management platform to software, media, and IoT type organizations. But when I joined, it was like a $10 million ARR company with a startup in London. So my friend and I were working out of his kitchen, and we've been on that kind of trajectory where we've taken the company from 10 to 30 million. It was like one kind of profile. Then we tried to aim from 30 to 100 million ARR. We had to kind of transition the company and really reinvent ourselves at that stage. And then from 100 million, where you're starting to aim towards an IPO and beyond, it becomes a different company altogether. So there's some key elements that come from your leadership team that should be constant across that journey from startup to post-IPO. And in my own experience, when joining Zuora, I was looking for a company. I'd come from the big Oracle world, right? So large kind of enterprise sales, very partner-centric, old kind of legacy on-premise world. So the software as a service world was very new to me at that stage when joining Zuora. But I'd heard about this kind of IPO world where if you get in early, it's a good equity play, et cetera, and I was hoping that things would work out with Zuora. So within the leadership team and kind of what I was looking for within that organization early on, there were some really kind of key traits that I believe will help you guys identify the right organizations and make sure you're working with the right leadership teams, and that you can also internalize that and share some of those kind of key learnings to build really successful sales teams yourself. So working with Zuora, they had a fantastic CEO, Teen Zuo, who came from that Salesforce world. And if you think of anyone who's come across the Salesforce V2 MOM methodology, right, it's fantastic stuff. So he starts with a vision, and the vision was around the subscription economy, right? So Teen believed that companies were making this shift from being product-centric into relationship-centric via subscription monetization strategies. And within that vision, the mission to get there, we knew was going to take a considerable amount of time. So the early stages, the startup stage, is very evangelical. So the sale is kind of tough, right? Because you're educating the market about your product, who you guys are. You've got no real branding. Nobody really knows you. So it's a really, that early stage of an organization is a really important time, and how you hire for that stage of your organization is also key to your future success. But some of the things remain constant, right, regardless of where you are on that trip. So I kind of break it down into 3 key areas: around people, around culture, and then around commercial, particularly for the sales managers. And that commercial element, I mean, people talk a lot around, our people and our culture, and that stuff is really important. But particularly for sales managers and for salespeople, there's a really essential part of this commercial responsibility that will drive the future success of your organization. So when you think about SaaS companies and you look at how they grow, they generally grow via, the SaaS model is fantastic, right? You've got a direct relationship with your customers. They're telling you what they like. They're telling you what they don't like. They tell you what you're missing. So you have this constant direct feedback loop with your customers where hopefully you can incorporate that into your product. You give it to your engineers, they're in the kitchen, they release it out on a cloud basis, and everybody gets access to it, right? But from a pricing and packaging strategy, that should drive serious incremental revenue in terms of how you actually charge for your product, okay? So that's one way of growing, is your core platform gets kind of wider. The other way you'll grow is you'll start to release new products and new applications, right, based on some of this feedback that'll sit outside core. And then you start to bundle these in. So now you're starting to upsell your customers. You're starting to cross-sell new products in. You might go through a merger or acquisition where you actually buy an external company and bring that in. And the commercial responsibility for sales managers to drive that internal change is really essential to your growth, right? People who do it well, they start to see this inflection in terms of what their growth rates look like. So no longer do you have to have a 40 or 50% new logo acquisition type rate. You can actually bring that back to 25 if you're really increasing your net retention. Now, anyone who's been in the shoes of, and I love our customer success guys, right, where we as salespeople tell them, look, you got to go tell the customer that his price is going up 20% next year, right? Beautiful conversation to have with a loyal customer, something everybody enjoys, right? But how you actually apply value to that is really, really important. And as bad as customers react to that price change, you've got to get the reaction correct internally first before you take it to market. So really distilling that within your organization around how you empower your people to tell that story, right? SaaS, our product is a pretty hard lock-in product, right? We've got many integration areas, so it's kind of, once you go live on it, it's kind of hard to get out. And then you feel you're getting hit with this kind of upside in terms of new products, releases, et cetera. And it's not an easy conversation to have. So I think a really key element for sales managers particularly is to download and internalize that talk track so that you can empower your team to take it to market. Okay, the other two areas around kind of people and culture, the people that you take on in a startup will be very different to the people you take on post-IPO. And that's really down to the people that your organization will attract. Some people are risk averse, others are not, right? So we kind of break it down into 4 areas around what we hire for. We look for, and I spoke a lot about this around last year, around intellect, drive, experience, and character, right? In the startup era, I'll lean very heavily towards drive and towards character, right? Because it's not easy. That part of growth of an organization is really, really difficult. You're not going to get your SAP or your Oracle guys or your Salesforce guys to kind of jump in and kind of take that risk if they already have a pretty successful career there. So as you grow, the profile starts to change, but those core pillars remain constant regardless of the size of growth you're at. And then finally around culture. Cannot stress how important it is, and Enrique touched on it earlier, getting your culture right as early as possible in terms of diversity is the single most important factor in terms of determining success for your organization. I was very lucky at the time that I was starting to hire a load of Irish guys. They look like me, sound like me, dress like me. I was comfortable there. But I had a few good people around me to kind of pull me out of that and say, look, you have to think about the people you want to attract to your organization. Right? And you're in London, a multicultural city, and it's something you've got to be mega conscious of. So that diversity program is real, it's legit. People will not come and join your organization if for an interview they walk in and see a single profile. So those 3 key areas around commercial, people, and cultural diversity exercise, those key themes are so important regardless of what stage of growth you're at. Thank you.